What's up everyone, I'm Gushi and welcome to RPG Labs. As you've seen in the opening clips, I'm going to teach you guys how to get some crazy damage numbers, getting up all the way up to 12,000 damage. Of course, each enemy has different weaknesses and resistances, so the damage will vary. But if you're hitting around the 4k damage range, it's more than enough to take out a lot of the bosses. I really want to emphasize the damage numbers instead of the enemies that I'm fighting. Most of these guys are in endgame areas, so their health pool is a little bit larger. Another thing to keep in mind is that I only optimize my gear, and this build could be even better if I optimize my stats, which I'll probably do later on. For now, I'm just sitting at level 120, so I'm not crazy overleveled for each activity. Before I start, if you find this video helpful, please drop a like and check out our Elden Ring playlist, as we have a ton of guides, tutorials, and builds to help you guys master Elden Ring. Alright, getting right into it, starting off with the most important part, which is our weapon. The Blasphemous Blade is absolutely needed, specifically for the skill called Taker's Flame. There's a couple reasons why this is really important. First of all, the range is ridiculously long. So most of us should know Gatefront by now, and right by the Site of Grace, all I have to do is walk right over here and I could hit the soldier. With this amount of range, this makes it so that I could hit enemies multiple times before they reach me. Another good thing about Taker's Flame is that it shoots in a straight line on the ground, doing an AoE fire damage, which can hit multiple enemies at once. Because it's pretty easy to kite enemies and line them up, this attack pattern makes it perfect to get as much damage as possible. Alright, so with the weapon out of the way, next we're going to talk about all the buffs that we can get. As you see in the clip, we are taking use of multiple different buffs through incantations, talismans, and our wondrous physics, because all of them can stack, which all help boost our damage. All of these do have different damage numbers and durations, so we're going to be going in depth into this so you know the order in which to use all these abilities and the ones that are most efficient, making them more important. So as an overview, we're going to go over the buffs real quick. For our incantations, we have Golden Vow, which will increase our attack and defense for yourself and allies. And Flame Grant Me Strength, which raises physical and fire affinity attack power. Because the Blasphemous Blade also does fire damage, this incantation will work with our buffs. For our Wondrous Physics, we're using a Dexterity not Crystal tier, which will increase our Dexterity. Because the Blasphemous Blade scales off Dex, this will be boosted as well. And we're using a Flame Shrouded Crack tier, which will again boost our fire attacks. Finally, and I think the most important, is Royal Knight's Resolve. This is an Ash of War that can be attached to a weapon. This is going to be used on our offhand, and it should only apply to this dagger, but this may be a bug because it also buffs our damage for our Blasphemous Blade. Next, let's look at the status menu. Ignore the attribute points because, again, they're not optimized at all, and they're kind of all over the place. But what we want to focus on is our attack power for our right armament on the top right hand side. With no buffs, our baseline is at 701, and with these stats, our base damage for Taker's Flame is 1671. Next, we'll test Golden Vow and time it to see how long it lasts. We'll pop Golden Vow and then hit the same enemy. We'll go back into the menu and check our attack power. It did increase to 806, which is a 15% buff. These numbers do change in real time, so we'll just wait for that number to drop again. And after a minute and 20 seconds, it drops back down to 701. Next, we'll try out Flame Grant Me Strength. Again, we'll pop it and hit that same enemy. Check the menu, and our damage increases to 841 at a 20% increase and lasts for 30 seconds. Finally, for Royal Knight's Resolve, if we activate this on our offhand and then switch to our Blasphemous Blade, again we'll check the menu and it goes up all the way to 1262, giving us an 80% increase. For our previous testing, I was using Radagon's Sword Seal just to get my strength up so I can wield Blasphemous Blade, and that brought the attack power to 701 as we tested before. But before Radagon's Sword Seal, it was sitting at 470, and of course this depends on what your stat allocations are, but with these stats it gave me a 50% increase. Definitely the best out of the talisman slots. Next up, we have the Fire Scorpion Charm. With just this equip, our armament goes up to 507, and again with the base at 470, this gives us an 8% increase. Last up, we have the Ritual Sword Talisman. With only this equip, it bumps it up to 517, increasing our right hand damage by 10%. So definitely Radagon's is the best, as it does level up our strength and dexterity, letting our weapon damage scale more than once, bringing our total damage increase with our talismans to 68%. Finally, let's go over our Wondrous Physics. By far, this is the one that lasts the longest. We'll pop it real quick and fast forward this clip. And as you can see, it lasts a whopping 3 minutes. My baseline damage was a little bit off in this clip, but the damage did increase from 742 to 833, giving us a 12% increase. So the order that you should be popping all these abilities is by the longest duration to the shortest. So first the Wondrous Physics, next Golden Vow, then Flame Gauntry Strength, and finally Knight's Resolve. If fighting normal mobs, probably Knight's Resolve is all that you need, but during boss fights, most likely you're gonna have to pop Knight's Resolve more than once, depending on what type of enemy and how much health they have. So you definitely want to be popping Knight's Resolve quite frequently to keep this buff up. It is a little bit tricky to switch between your offhand weapon, use its skill, and then switch back to Blasphemous Blade, and then use its skill. So we'll break it down real quick. What you want to do is keep your dagger in your left hand and the Blasphemous Blade in the right. Using your controller, you're gonna have to hold triangle and then hit L1 to two-hand your left-hand weapon. This will activate Royal Knight's Resolve as your Ash of War that you can use. Next, hit L2 to activate it. Next, you want to pull out Blasphemous Blade again without putting away your dagger, so you don't get rid of that buff. So you have to hold triangle and then hit R1. The Ash of War will switch back to Taker's Flame, hit L2, and that should complete the combo. For me, it's a little bit hard to do all these actions at once, especially during a boss fight when you have to be paying attention to the boss's attack patterns. So either make sure you have a distraction and you're in a safe place, or what I usually like to do is just activate Flame Grant Me Strength, because all you have to do is switch to your seal and hit L1, which in my opinion is way easier, and it lasts a decent amount of time at 30 seconds. Finally, let's go over where we can find all these pieces of gear. For the dex tier, all you have to go is over here on the map. Next to the lake, you'll find this island right over here. It's just a little hill, so climb to the top till you find a bowl, and the tier should be right over here. Next up, the flame tier could be found right over here. You'll find a Erd Tree avatar. Once you defeat it, it'll drop the flame shrouded crack tier. The Radagon sword seal can be found over here at Fort Farith. What you want to do is get to the top, go to the second opening over here, drop down, take a right, and destroy these barrels and boxes over here. This will reveal another room which you could jump to, follow the path to another hole which you can drop down, and the sword seal will be on the bottom. For the Ritual Sword Talisman, it's located at the Lux Ruins. There'll be a boss over there which you'll have to defeat, and open up the room to the back which you'll find in a chest. For the Flame Grant Me Strength incantation, you want to go to Fort Gale over here. Go up the hill and to the entrance, and then take a left around the castle. You'll find two of these octopus flamethrower dudes, which are guarding the incantation, which you'll find right in the middle. For Royal Knight's Resolve, you're gonna have to have access to the Volcano Manor and defeat the boss called the Godskin Noble to access the site of race called the Temple of Eagle. Just follow the path that I'm showing right over here. You will need a stone sword key to open this door right over here. Once you do, make your way all the way down without falling off. Once you get to the bottom, look for the red room, and in it you'll see the Ash of War. Finally, to get probably the most important piece, which is the Blasphemous Blade. Again, you'll have to have access to the Volcano Manor, talk to the various NPCs close to this grace point, and they'll give you a quest to take on some invaders. You can find letters in your inventory, as well as red marks on your map which will show their location. When reaching that location, you'll find an invade symbol. Once you invade all of these 3 targets successfully, you'll be able to face the boss called Rykard, which I will give tips on how to beat because he's actually pretty easy. If you haven't got to this point in the game and you don't want spoilers, this is a good time to click off the video, and you can probably figure it out from here. Alright, once you get into this fight, definitely grab the weapon to your left, as it makes this boss fight way easier. Only in this room, this weapon will have special light, heavy, and special attack, which does a lot of damage and has some crazy range. Now after every one of his attacks, you can probably get 2 light attacks in, so that's the general rotation. First attack I want to go over is this one where he buries his head into the ground. I honestly don't know the counter to this, so just try to jump or roll away. This is pretty infrequent, so just hope you don't get it. Next is the Poison Spit. You can tell from the green smoke coming from his mouth. All you have to do is run to the side and roll forward, and you should be able to dodge most of it. Next, if he pulls his head back and up, he's going to be doing a grab attack. So what you want to do is roll forward, because if you do roll sideways or backwards, he will grab you. This next attack, if he rolls pulls his head to the right, some rocks will come out, but I've never gotten hit by this attack, so just stay a medium distance away. Now if he pulls his head back quickly, back and down to the left, what you want to do is roll backwards. Depending on your spacing, he might follow up with another 2, so what you want to do is get as far back as possible so it doesn't trigger the other 2 attacks. Once you get enough hits in, you will stagger him and you'll get some free heavy attacks in. But other than that, that's all the attacks you need to know for at least phase 1. Phase 2 is probably the easiest part, so once you reach it, all you have to do is spam your weapon skill, but most importantly you have to space it out just a little bit, as you do have to give him time to recover, making him available to stagger again. At this point, the main thing you want to focus on is keeping your FP up and your stamina up, because if you try to do your weapon skill without any FP or stamina, it will lock you into an animation, leaving you very vulnerable. Other than that, this lets you stun lock him for the entire phase, and if you don't make any mistakes, you should get his remembrance, which you could turn into the round table for the blasphemous blade. With that, I hope you guys enjoy this build and breakdown. Again, if you do, please drop a like and check out our other Elden Ring videos in our playlist. As always, thank you guys for watching and hope to catch you in the next one.